It's the well.
Yeah, it's the well. You ain't heard of us. Hey, Rams. Hey, welcome. Heard with us. If you look around for a word to trust, check the Starseed Journey. You can learn from us. Sex, sleep, drugs. What we gonna discuss? Whatever you need to be prosperous. Negativity, superfluous. All we really want is for you to just be true to you and be who you are, cause you are a star and you will go far. You can succeed at all of your dreams. You'll get your degree and all of those things, but you must take care of your health. Cherish yourself, your body, your mental, your grades, and your wealth. You can have fun and still be well. That's what we do here at the well. What's up?
Hey y'all. Welcome to the latest edition of What the Well.
What the well? What the well?
I am Mia Liatis, pronouns she or they. I am the wellness health educator over at the Well. My main focuses are on sexual health and mental health, and I'm here with my lovely co-host.
Hi, I'm Hudson, liaison, and she, her, hers, and I'm a peer health educator at The Well, focusing on physical activity and healthy eating.
Nice. We're so excited to have Hudson here today. And today's topic is on sexual health. So
yes,
we are here to get down and dirty talking about sexual health today.
Woo-hoo.
And yeah, let's talk to our other co-host.
Hey, my name is Malcolm. I go to VCU. I work at the Well, and I like do, stuff with the Starseed and stuff like that. I'm here to talk about sex.
Yes. So I want to get us started with talking about our sex ed experiences. So talk to some students about their experiences before and really got a range of responses in terms of if people got sex ed at all, if people got comprehensive sex ed, it went really well, who taught them sex ed. So I just want to throw it out there to you all. Tell me about your sex ed experiences.
Ladies first.
Okay. Well, I was actually really fortunate because I got comprehensive sex education in high school.
Whoa.
And I got it. Yeah, I got it like in elementary school, middle school, and high school.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where did you go to school?
I went to school in Fairfax, Virginia, which is Northern Virginia, and it's one of the wealthiest counties in Virginia. So we definitely had the funds for it.
Yeah.
So we were really fortunate, but we did have our PE teachers teach health.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you got it in elementary school too,
Yes.
you said?
Yeah, probably 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, we got it.
What did that look like?
Basically, we didn't really talk about having sex or anything like that, but we talked about the anatomy and the female bodies and the changing of that, menstruation and stuff.
Okay.
So we definitely got sex education,
Okay.
which is pretty different than a lot of people.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So you got the period talks.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And we also learned about the female body. We were split up, so there was women did it together and then males did it together. But we learned about both sides, each body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So splitting up, you didn't have it together.
Yeah.
Folks who were determined to be male were in
Yeah.
one room, determined to be female in another room.
Yes.
Okay.
And we had a female instructor if we were female, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we definitely, they didn't be oh, abstinence is the only way, but they definitely were the only way to prevent pregnancy or, STIs was abstinence.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did that look like as compared to middle school and high school?
middle school and high school, they were definitely more graphic. We watched a lot more videos and kind of diagrams, and they definitely went into having sex and the different parts of female and male genitalia. And they also talked about more than just the body, mental health, the importance of healthy eating and physical activity and that stuff.
Whoa.
Yeah, we got really good sex education.
Wow. We need to go up to Fairfax County and just give some people awards. That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah.
Malcolm, what was your sex ed experience like?
It was not like that. Not at all. I don't know. It was pretty basic. It doesn't really stick out in my mind at all. I didn't really learn most of what I knew about sex from school. You know, like the teachers didn't really teach it to me, but it wasn't like because they weren't teaching it to me. Just like my friends were like really gross little boys. But in terms of like school, I mean, it was nowhere near as comprehensive as that. It was just like maybe some anatomy, a little bit of scare tactics, you know.
Yeah.
Tell us what you mean by scare tactics.
Like maybe show us some like pictures of like, you know, scary looking diseases and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Or just like looking at videos of like, you know, people who got pregnant and stuff. I think we watched Teen Mom actually once in high school. We watched that.
Okay.
Interesting.
As like, that was part of your educational experience.
I suppose, yeah. I
Was
remember
Teen
it
Mom.
exactly because they turned the lights off and everything. This girl like put her feet up on me and I was like, you gotta stop that.
Okay. So maybe like having the opposite effect of what they wanted.
Oh,
Somebody
wow. I
fun,
didn't even think
comfortable.
about that. Whoa. Yeah, wow. That's crazy.
So you had like the kind of opposite end of the spectrum kind of experience.
I guess so, yeah.
Okay.
But I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
I don't
So
hold it against them or anything.
for yours, well, it sounds like in what you just described, like some girl put their like feet up on you. You had an integrated
Yeah.
experience. So like you were getting education with people of all genders, it sounds like.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't, they didn't split us up. But that was high school, so I guess like,
Yeah, in high school we were together.
yeah.
Okay. What about elementary school for you?
I don't remember sex at an elementary school. I think we had it in 8th grade. I remember.
Oh, really?
Okay.
It was weird because, just it's a long story, but it was my same PE teacher that I had in elementary school though. But it was and it was pretty much like that's where they were showing us the like different anatomy. I don't think they showed us really how to put on a condom. Maybe they showed us, but like they didn't let us do it. But it was like sex education and drug education at the same time.
Yeah.
So they would talk about like alcohol and like crashes and stuff like that. So
Okay.
it was just
Yeah, they
like
did that
sort of a
too.
lot going on, but nothing really too in depth. I feel like.
Okay.
I hope like none of my teachers hear this and be like, I can't believe he's lying on my teaching skills. What's wrong with him? You know. No, it's all love. I promise.
Well, it sounds like they tried to put like everything that you were potentially at risk for into one session. Like,
Yeah.
don't do drugs, don't drink alcohol, don't get pregnant, or get someone pregnant. Okay. Well, wow. My sex ed experience was similar to yours, Malcolm. Mine was like in middle school, they gave us a deck of cards. And
Okay.
we all chose from the deck of cards. And some of them had pictures of STIs on them. And of course, they were like the most severe STIs ever. And if you chose the card, like with this really graphic picture on it, you now had that STI.
Oh my gosh.
And you had to stand up in the front of the classroom holding the picture of the STI. So when you're talking about scare tactics, that's definitely like one of the
Yeah,
scare
like,
tactics.
definitely they're trying to tell you something.
Okay, I have 2 questions. First off, how old were you?
Between 11 and 13.
Oh my gosh. That's
Sometime in middle school.
Okay, and 2, what did you learn from this experience? Or-
I don't know
And
what
what were you
I
supposed
learned
to
other
learn?
than I think what I was supposed to learn is that like I don't know. If you have sex, you are gonna get this like extreme thing that
Yeah.
cannot be cured, and you're stuck with it forever, and everyone's gonna know.
yeah. Definitely stigma.
And that's a terrible takeaway to have, obviously. And if there was any other education that they did in that setting, it did not stick with me, right? Like, because what stuck with me was like being embarrassed
Yeah.
in front of a class.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I think for some people, their sex ed experience is coupled with embarrassment. And maybe some of us even carry that embarrassment into asking questions about sex because that's the only context we've ever talked about sex with
sure.
professionals. So I want to just keep that lens today. And also, there are some of us on this campus who had comprehensive sex ed, which makes me really happy. But a lot of us still are getting that sex ed from PE teachers or phys ed teachers. And that may not have been a part of their like higher education. Maybe they thought they were coming in to do like more athletics, and that's kind of what they were stuck with. They're like, well,
Right.
you have this dedicated time to teach people things about physical stuff. So you obviously are going to know about sex and STIs and contraception. So, yeah, keeping that lens too. I've only heard from a couple of people that they got their sex ed from maybe like a school counselor,
Really?
which I think some schools are moving toward that direction because school counselors have some more training in like dealing with sensitive topics. And for some people, talking about sex is sensitive. And then I've heard a couple other people say that like a community organization has come
Really?
in and done sex ed in their school. So they like hire people to come in. And I've mostly heard that from folks who went to wealthier schools.
Right.
So we're all starting from our own experiences. So we're just, I'm just excited to talk to y'all about kind of where we came from before we
Right.
start talking
Yeah.
about like what's going on here. And so I want to know, did you feel kind of prepared to come to college based on your experiences, whether those were through like a formal experience through the school system or from learning through your peers?
Right. I definitely think because I had comprehensive sex education, I was definitely at an advantage. But also, it was coupled with my parents. They were very open about sex education, and they didn't make me feel like embarrassed or you can't have sex. So definitely, if I was in a household where they were definitely like sex is off limits, I definitely wouldn't be as prepared. But I felt pretty confident in it. You know, I was never pressured into anything, or I definitely don't know a lot, but I knew enough to be able to like kind of navigate it and learn more. But I know some people on campus who barely know anything and felt really unprepared.
Okay.
So I think it's school and kind of your family and your peers.
Yeah. It sounds like your parents wanted you to come to them with questions if you had them or
Yeah.
were open about
Yeah.
talking about
They
those
wanted
kinds
to
of
be able to
things.
be there first before, like, I got in the situation and had no idea. They could
Okay.
kind of train me first, I guess, is what I would say.
Okay. What about like your friends during that time?
See, my friends, you're in middle school and high school, you're definitely going to be around like rowdy behavior and they're all into sex. But I didn't have many friends who were involved in sexual activities, but we definitely weren't like in the dark. I mean, you can access basically anything on the internet. So if I had any questions, you could just look it up.
Okay.
But it was definitely it was talked about, that kind of thing.
Okay. I want to come back to the internet comment.
Yeah.
Malcolm.
Can you repeat the question?
So when you were coming to VCU, did you feel like you had adequate preparation around talking about sex or any kind of sexual activity if you were to engage in that? And how did being with friends or your talks with your parents or school prepare you if you felt prepared?
Yeah, I'd say I was pretty prepared. Like, I had come into contact, with a lot of different knowledge and stuff like that about it. But, and it was like a conglomeration of different conversations that I've had, with people that I know and stuff like that. So, my mom, and my parents were just, not really, they definitely didn't want me having sex, at all. My friends are having sex. I wasn't, but, I was just kind of chilling. But then when I got to college, it was, I don't know, it was just, everywhere, you know? It's not necessarily, it was on everyone's mind, but everyone else thought it was on everyone else's mind.
Sure.
Right.
But I just did what I could to stay safe and not make any decisions that I would regret or be involved in a decision that someone else would regret. So, yeah, I'd say I was pretty prepared. It's not like I was out here being wild and willy nilly. I'm just very careful with that kind of stuff in general. Not necessarily because
of the like, you know, chances for diseases or pregnancy, just because like it's a very like special thing, and I just like don't think it should be played around with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
But that's just me, you know how.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, kind of the differences that you hear between how parents decide to approach like the sex talk.
Right. Yeah.
Did either of you have like a formal sit down sex talk with your parents?
I don't know about like formal. Like in my house, it wasn't. It wasn't like one time. They kind of wanted to open it up, like to be able to do it throughout the years. So I mean, they probably started young at like the more appropriate things and then worked their way up. But there was never a time like I could always come with questions. And I think probably near middle school or high school, when they knew that more people were engaging in sexual activity, they were kind of like, you know, you should be safe. There's nothing wrong with engaging in that, but just make sure you choose the right person. You know, use protection, that kind of thing.
Okay.
I don't remember like a sit down and like they're telling me things.
Yeah. Okay.
This sex talk. It's just like such a big deal, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't think I really ever had like an official one. I never really talked to my parents about sex for real. Just because if it was something that was on my mind, it wasn't something that I wanted them to know was on my mind.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, this is sex, you know, but like, this is how it works. But like, it was just like, more like, don't really, I don't know, just here's what you should and here's what you should not be doing, you know?
Okay. Yeah. So some like general rules and guidelines around it, maybe, or
Just like, don't do it. Pretty much.
That's
I mean,
the rule.
Don't even think about it.
I mean, that's really like what it was, you know? It wasn't really like, we know you can have sex, you know, we just want you to be safe. It's just like, you shouldn't be having sex. So, I don't know. I don't know. I never really thought about it though.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I had a formal sex talk,
Okay. Was
which
it
is
fun?
maybe why I like framed the question that way.
Right.
So really it came about because I asked for birth control,
Oh.
and I needed it because I had terrible periods.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right. So then it became the sex talk,
Right.
which I was not prepared for.
Yeah.
Thrust into it.
And I feel like I've talked to some people who are like, "Oh, my parents trapped me in the car, so I
Oh
couldn't
my
leave," or like
gosh.
like we were driving somewhere, so
Yeah.
I like couldn't get out of the conversation, or
Bail out.
I was in the living room just trying to have my birth control conversation, and then it became like, you should have come to me, you should have talked to me, kind of like a guilt.
Yeah. You're like, oh gosh. I wish I hadn't said anything.
So did they think something else?
They thought I was asking for birth control because I was having sex.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think like Malcolm, you mentioned before, like not really wanting to have that kind of talk with your parents. I wonder kind of what parents, how they view having that talk, and if they feel like obligated to have that talk, or they have any tools around that. Because if we're not getting adequate sex education generally, I can't imagine kind of the sex education that they may have gotten.
Oh, definitely.
So I think it can be embarrassing for everybody if we're not
I
talking
think, yeah,
about
uncomfortable, awkward.
Yes, amen to that.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask them, hey, Mom, what kind of sex ed did you get when you were a kid?
Tell
Yeah?
me everything.
Middle school, elementary school, high school, all of it. I
Yeah.
want to know.
Yeah. And I wonder too, when you all were talking about like being separated when you were younger, how that is impacting our trans students who are, at young ages figuring out their identities, or, thinking about like how we're placing people in these conversations.
Oh,
And
definitely.
if we're talking about sex, is it between somebody who's like a cis man and a cis woman, or like a person with a penis, a person with a vagina? Is that the only way that people have sex? No.
Right.
That's very true.
Yeah.
And
We definitely need more of that.
I wonder, Hudson, you mentioned that you had comprehensive sex ed. Was
Yeah.
that part of the comprehensive sex ed?
Definitely later, just because the views around it had changed. But I mean, I actually did like a project on this, but I think like a really low number, like 16% of all comprehensive sex education has like LGBTQ representation. And that's really unfortunate because it's a huge population and they're not like learning about it. And I mean, I feel like it's hard to ask questions just personally. And like I was able to see like, you know, I'm cisgender, so I feel like I still feel uncomfortable and I got a lot of education. So if you were really struggling and kind of working through your identity, I mean, you wouldn't even know where to start. And that's just really unfortunate.
Thank God for the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, I feel like, too, with the internet, people are looking to that more for their kind of like sex ed or like sexual exploration.
Right.
And so I want to ask you all, I guess, what are some maybe like positives and negatives of the internet's influence on sex ed?
I feel like the positives is you definitely have more like sexual freedom and you feel like, oh, you know, this is good. Like, you know, it's supposed to feel good. You're supposed to enjoy it. I think, you know, you learn more, but I think definitely some of the negatives is it gives you a lot of unrealistic expectations of what sex is going to be like or what it should be like. And there's a lot of like power and control that I think it can definitely influence children because, I mean, you can access it. Anybody can access it, especially porn.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking was it's easily available information, which makes it easily accessible to everyone, but that's exactly the downside of it as well.
Yeah.
Is that anyone can get it. You can get a lot of stuff really fast that's really wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you're really young.
Yeah.
So that's I would say that wraps it up.
Yeah. So, like, you mentioned porn.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, like any education that you're going to find, porn has this, I guess, different dimension of education because it's video for the most part.
Right.
Sure, there are other forms. And if you're seeing something on video that is maybe violent, or you talked about creating like unrealistic expectations, maybe like if that is what people are accessing in terms of their sex education because they're not necessarily getting that in school systems,
Right.
we're going to kind of see that come out in the relationships that they have or the experiences that they have with other people.
Right.
And so I just want us to think about that too, in terms of how we look at violence prevention and sexual health, because I think we can't necessarily separate those two. Because, of course, like to have good sex, you need consent and open communication with your partner or partners. And like having good sex also is tied to talking with someone about like what feels good for you, which in some porn or even just reading on the internet, like those conversations might not be happening.
Yeah. Or people think like, oh, it's not sexy to like have that conversation.
Right.
Just sorry, you can go, but no, but like people are definitely like, oh, I don't want to stop in the middle of it and like discuss, you know, the boundaries, but I mean, it's important.
Well, what's the alternative, right? Like, what is the consequence of not having some kind of discussions like that?
Well, you could have bad sex.
Yeah,
Or even worse, you could hurt someone.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Do something that you weren't anticipating.
Yeah. Or like someone can have a response. Because we're all like products of our experiences, right? So like maybe I had a relationship with somebody before the person I had now, and something in that relationship like is like coming up for me in my like sexual experiences with somebody else.
That's heavy. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. Yeah. I mean, it's like sex can be like really heavy sometimes, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And so, you know, and not all relationships have like a sexual component to them either, not all intimate relationships. And we do have a fair amount of folks on this campus who identify as ace or asexual. So I want to be mindful of that too, because Malcolm, you mentioned earlier that folks like the idea of being on campus is that like sex is on everyone's like mind in some way or another, or like people are talking about it, or it's just kind of like in the air or in the atmosphere, even if people aren't openly talking about it.
I can smell it.
Yeah. But the reality is like not everybody is engaging in it, and that is okay.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you all, has your sex ed experience been like since you've come to VCU? So you've talked about what it was like before coming and if you felt prepared. So since you've been here, what has it been like, if any?
Do you want to go first? Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I got here, right, and I was hip to the stall seat, and then I started working at the well like my very first year, and that opened me up to like a whole other world of sex ed. So I'd say that it's been extremely comprehensive since I got to VCU.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for plugging us.
Yeah, no problem.
The well.
What about you?
I feel like coming here, it's been like basically putting all that education that I learned into practice and kind of exploring, having fun. But I definitely think the well has shown me that, there are things you have to think about, like boundaries and what people are comfortable with. But I also think, people are realizing what feels good to them, what they like, what they don't like. And I feel like one of the things that I'd like to see more of is obviously LGBTQ representation, because that's definitely not talked about enough. But also just getting more comfortable with being able to talk about sex. Because I still people are like, oh, what are your experiences like? And I think everybody's kind of like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. And I feel like it should be talked about more and more like open and free. I feel like a lot of people feel like ashamed of having sex with someone or not. And I feel like it should be more inclusive, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for tasking me with that. And also thank you for I did not pay them to plug the well.
No, the well's great.
Well, and I think too, at VCU we have more freedom to talk about these things than maybe some school systems do before.
Oh, for sure.
And, you all are on the ground being students, and you have a good idea of what people want to see or where there may be gaps.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking that with me and putting it in my pocket. Thank you. Thanks for the recommendations too. Because, as you were saying, not a lot of people are getting comprehensive sex ed in the ways that apply to folks in our LGBTQIA plus communities. And for some people, this experience in college is a way to navigate identity. So
definitely. For
so
sure.
even if maybe you got some of that sex ed in high school if you were one of the lucky ones, but maybe you're this doesn't really apply to me right now. So it's going out the other year. So maybe too doing more targeted messaging around that kind of comprehensive sex ed is something that we could do. Yeah. That was my second question, or that was my follow-up question too. Is what do you want more information about? I want to know what questions you have for me in terms of sexual health and beyond.
Oh boy.
I mean, I feel like we could do another well plug and maybe ask about programs or anything that's upcoming that students can go to either learn more about sex education or just in general about sexual health.
Yeah. So we have this new program rolling out called our Condom Concierge.
It's great. I've used it.
Nice. And so you can access this. It's basically a form to fill out that, once you fill it out, you get free condoms and free barrier methods and lube.
And it's super easy.
Yeah. So
Anything you could dream of.
that is my hope, right? So you fill out this form. You can go to the Wells website, or you can go to bit.ly/VCU condom concierge and fill out the form. And it'll ask you, like, what types of condoms you want. We have pictures. We have internal condoms. So traditional condoms that you may have seen, like that was maybe put on a banana in your sex ed class.
Right.
Those are called external condoms because you're using them externally on a penis. Internal condoms are used internally inside of a vagina. So if you're like, what the heck is she talking about? Look at the form. Check us out. Or even like ask for one just for your own experimentation to kind of see what that's like. We got flavored condoms.
I think you should definitely mention some of like the flavored condoms you can't use,
Yes.
like for penetration,
Yes.
because people have been doing that. So
Yes.
I would say.
Hudson is right. Yeah, so the flavored condoms, they are external condoms. And the reason that you really shouldn't be using them for penetration is because there are sugars in the condoms, which is what makes them flavored. And they can throw off the pH balance inside of a vagina. So that can make you have a yeast infection or your partner have a yeast infection. And that's not fun.
Yeah, we don't want that.
So use flavored condoms for oral sex, please. So we got bubblegum, we have tropical island flavor, we have banana, we have mint chocolate chip, we have
You have like everything.
strawberry chocolate. It's all sexy. Come and get some. We have dental dams. Who can tell me what a dental dam is?
So you like put it like over a vagina, and like that's used for oral sex.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm gonna go with.
Malcolm is miming.
It's like a tiny little blanket, like a picnic blanket.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then you get to eat.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So that's how I describe it too. Is like a blanket for your bits. So like
Ooh.
it's basically a sheet of latex. You can get it flavored or unflavored. Again,
Yeah.
only using flavored products for oral sex.
Please.
I mean, that's the whole point of a dental dam now, is for oral sex.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's to lay over a vulva or a vagina, or you can lay it over your anus. So however you decide to eat out is up to you. So that's what a dental dam is. We also have latex-free condoms. So if you or your partner or partners are allergic to latex, we got those. We have lube to make things a little slippery.
A little easier,
Yeah,
a
easier.
little smoother,
Yeah. So most people find that lube can really increase satisfaction for their partner or partners, even if you have like lube on a condom. So this is just like a little bit extra to get some stuff going. And I think that's it. I think that's all of it. Anyway,
Condoms.
come get them for free.
Lots of options.
Fill out our form. And so we have that going on all the time. You can fill that out at 2 a.m. We have folks filling them up during the week, filling up your requests, and you just come and pick them up at the well. So go ahead and fill those out.
And there's a kiosk in the well, right?
Yes. So there's an iPad when you come in. You can just fill that out, and an email will get sent to us, and we will fill your request, and then you'll get an email from us that your order is ready for pickup.
We're at 813,
815.
815.
South Cathedral Street.
Okay.
Yes.
Right,
Place.
like down by the Commons.
Yeah.
Yes. South Cathedral Place. 815 South Cathedral Place.
Should I make a song about the address too, so people can remember?
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, we are near the Commons, across from the cathedral. We're in a red brick house. Come and say hi and fill out your condom request form. On Fridays of February, all February on Fridays, we will have Frisky Fridays.
Ooh.
It's really a social media campaign that's going to plug all of our events that we're doing in February that are related to sexual health. And just like some tips and tricks for getting frisky. So check us out on social media. We are at the Well VCU on Instagram, and you can also follow us on Facebook or like us on Facebook if that's your jam too.
I think you guys have a Twitter, maybe?
We have a Twitter. Follow us.
I don't know the Twitter handle because I don't use it.
Oh, it's the WellVCU. For sure.
Okay, well, Frisky Friday is going to be on Instagram and Facebook
Yeah.
because
Just for Go Twitter.
I don't know how to.
That's
Twitter.
fine. Oh, boy.
And then gotta plug Healthy Sex, Healthy Love Week will actually just be finishing up when this airs, but there's 1 or 2 events that are still happening to check out. So Healthy Sex, Healthy Love Week is in accordance with Valentine's Day and National Condom Week. So
Ooh.
I know.
That's exciting.
So it's February 14th through the 21st. And on the 21st specifically, we're going to have folks in the Commons making condomgrams. So you can make a little message and get some free condoms and some candy to give to Bay or to whoever. And then we're having an event called Sexuality, to spill the tea about sexuality and sex. And that's going to be at 2 p.m. in the Virginia Rooms in the Commons. So come hang out with us then too. And then real important, free HIV testing is happening on February 27th. It's a Wednesday. And the Well is partnering with our community friends, Health Brigade and Center for Cultural Experiences and Prevention, which is actually at VCU. They're going to be offering free HIV testing with your student ID, and it's just a finger prick, like a real quick finger prick, and you get your test results back within 30 minutes. So
Oh, that's really good.
you'll know within 30 minutes. So it's in the Student Commons in the Virginia Rooms from 11 to 3. Again, Wednesday, February 27th. So come out and get tested. We should all be getting tested regularly if we're engaging in sexual activity.
True that.
As you're looking through like the other questions to ask me, what do you feel like is like especially important?
So, for Mia, how does sexual health relate to health overall?
Well, I guess, I feel like we could all answer this, but the way that I see it is, I mean, if you know how to have good sex, you're probably a little bit happier and can help your emotional well-being.
Definitely.
And also, like, unpacking good sex means, like, being able to have healthy relationships with the folks that you're engaging with. And by relationships, I mean, like, whatever that looks like for you, however you're interacting with these people or this person. And that can contribute to your emotional health, for sure. And of course, getting tested regularly can impact your physical health. So making sure that, you know, you're talking to somebody at Student Health, for example, is a great way to improve your physical health when it comes to sexual health. And if you're interested in getting some STI testing through Student Health, we have some information for you about that. It costs a total of, it costs about $45 to get all of the STI testing through Student Health. So there is a small fee. If you only want to get some particular STI testing done, you can get some groups of testing for $15. So if you're looking to get, you know, specific testing for gonorrhea or herpes or syphilis or whatever, the physicians there can give you certain packages for $15. So if whatever you're looking for, talk to your healthcare provider at Student Health. But if you're just like, test me for all of it, it's about $45. We do have places within the Richmond community that run free HIV testing as well as just STI testing in general. So if you're looking for that, check out our website because we have folks that are along the bus route. So if you don't have access to transportation, we can get you to where you need to go to get that free STI testing. What are other ways that sexual health impacts health overall?
It definitely influences your like mental health, your emotional health.
Mm-hmm.
And that basically runs everything.
Yeah.
So everything's connected, wellness-wise, health-wise.
I didn't pay her to say that either. That was great. Yeah.
So, what's your middle name? No, I'm just playing.
I actually don't have a middle name.
Really?
What?
I know, yeah.
Let's talk about. No, I'm just playing.
I don't know why.
So, what is the difference between a STD and an STI?
So we've been saying STIs for a lot of
Right.
this podcast, and some folks may be like, I've only heard it as
I grew up in school where for my sex ed, we used STD, and then it changed to STI when I was in high school.
yeah. So it's a pretty like recent development, but basically STI stands for sexually transmitted infection, and STD is sexually transmitted disease, right? So infection means that there's a germ that's present in the body, but you may not have symptoms that come with that germ that's present. So you may not be able to physically see anything happening, but it exists. So the term disease means that it's going to have some obvious signs and symptoms. So maybe you're seeing just like changes in your skin, or maybe just the way that like discharges. I don't know how like we want to how deep we want to get in here.
So does that mean it's like a classification for certain things, or are they interchangeable, or?
So think of STI as an umbrella,
Okay.
and then STD falls under that umbrella. So everything is an infection,
Okay.
but only certain STIs have symptoms. So
Could you give some like examples, maybe? Or like an STD?
it shows up differently for different people.
Right.
So I would say talk to your healthcare provider about what it may be. So if you're noticing like some differences in the way things are looking down there, then talk to somebody about it. And even if you're engaging in sexual activity, it's always good to just get tested because, like we said,
Right.
you're not always going to show symptoms.
Right.
So, because for some things will like show up for some people, and some things they will not like have as much of a response to something. So, you may notice something whereas somebody else may not
Right.
notice it, even if it's present.
It's all different.
Yes. But yeah.
Okay. So here's another question. Does birth control protect against getting STIs?
That's a good question. So, not all birth control protects against STIs. So, just because someone's on the pill or has an IUD or NuvaRing does not protect against STIs. It does, if taken properly or if it's inserted properly, it prevents pregnancy.
Okay.
So if you are not having sex with a barrier method like a condom, which is a type of birth control because it's preventing you from getting pregnant if you're using it correctly, that will protect against an STI because it is creating a barrier between skin-to-skin contact, whereas the pill, for example, it doesn't have that kind of barrier method. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So let's get to the juicy part.
Okay.
No, I'm just saying. We were just talking earlier about like infrequently asked questions and stuff, you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know, kind of questions, do people like not ask enough?
Mm. How to have comfortable anal sex.
That's a good one.
I will say lube is your best friend. So we talked about how lube makes things a little bit more slippery or has like a glide. Yeah. So if you're finding that you want to engage in anal sex, but it's maybe painful for you or your partners, we'll say that you can start with a finger or two. Of course, using a barrier method. We always recommend using something like an external condom here. And then lube. Lube will help get things going. It will help with that glide and will make tearing less likely. So that's my hot tip for you if you want to engage in anal sex.
Nice. I have a question. So I have some friends who have picked up some condoms from the condom concierge, and they were saying how they think that dental dams and kind of the flavored condoms take away from the fun of oral sex. So could you just shed some light on why it's important to use protection and kind of like that aspect? Because I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's stupid. And I feel like that's definitely some people, I think we could use some insight.
Yeah, sure. So I think, it's all about kind of weighing what it looks like when you aren't using a barrier method.
Right.
So you can contract an STI orally. So it doesn't necessarily have to be through like skin-to-skin contact in terms of like vulva to vulva or penis to vagina or like penis to anus. You can also contract an STI from like mouth to penis or vulva or vagina.
Right.
So using a barrier method protects you from getting an STI that way. Also, maybe the person that you're engaging in oral sex or, I guess in particular oral sex, since that's what we're talking about, maybe they feel more comfortable with you using that because maybe they don't know your status.
Right.
Again, encouraging folks to get tested regularly, but say like you're in the heat of the moment and you haven't gotten tested since the last person or people you were with.
Right.
Maybe that's just part of having consensual sex. So again, coming back to like what feels good for you, that's part of that conversation too. And I would say like part of, exploring like sexuality is just trying different things. So if you haven't tried using a dental dam or
Don't knock until you try.
yeah, exactly. A flavored condom. Like we have 5 different types of external flavored condoms. So like try all 5.
Do a taste test.
Yeah, exactly. Do a taste test. So it really comes down to like protecting yourself and also like what feels good for the people that you're with.
Thanks. So do you want to talk about a little bit about like what is the well and how does it address the well's perspective on sexual health? Anything like that?
Sure. Yeah. So like I said, one of my focuses at the well is to focus on focus. One of my roles at the well is to focus on sexual health, and we really try to create an atmosphere of taking a non-judgmental approach to sexual health.
Right.
So if you come in and are picking up condoms, you shouldn't have to feel like somebody is there judging you for it.
Right.
And also, if you fill out the condom concierge, there's an option that says, I'd like to speak with a health educator about my order. If you have questions, I am happy to meet with you and talk you through anything related to your order. So maybe you saw like an internal condom and you're like, I'm just going to get this, but I don't really know what it is.
Right.
Come and talk with me. I'm not, I promise I'm not a scary human.
Not at all.
And, you know, I'm not going to judge you because, again, like we all come from different experiences when it comes to sex ed. And I would much rather you ask someone, you know, than just you assume that you feel like you should know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Flying blind.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that being said, of course, like some of these conversations can be embarrassing and some of us do have shame around like talking about sex. And I would want someone to know like we're trying to create a comfortable atmosphere and we're not going to make you like feel bad
Yeah.
for asking. So
Yeah. The well wants you to come in. Talk
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah, we're all about that.
Yeah.
yeah.
What's it called? Pie? Positivity, inclusivity, and empowerment.
Yes.
Woohoo.
Got that whole pie. Yeah.
I like pie. I'm hungry now.
Thank y'all for listening to us talk about sex for the past little bit. Thanks for spending some time with us. I want to thank our co-hosts today, Hudson and Malcolm, for sharing their experiences from elementary and beyond.
Yeah, of course.
And I want to say tune in next week to hear from Carrie and the Wells Peer Health Educators about our giant Safer Spring Break event that's going to be happening at the end of February. So stay tuned for that. And we'll be right here next week to say what the hell is going on with the well.
What the well is going on at the well?
So be well.